Hi, and welcome back to this episode of Off the Shelf Book Talk with Book Lovers. I'm Elizabeth Nelson, here as always with Kay Johnson. And Kay, what have you been reading?
Oh my goodness sakes, that's such a wonderful question. I love to share books, and I love to find out what people are reading. And it is just so fun to ask people, because it's so interesting what they're reading, because people read amazing things.
Yeah.
You know, everything from the Bible to the #1 bestseller. And
It's always fun for me too. Like, there are people I'm friends with on Goodreads, and sometimes they read books and I'm like, really? I never ever would have pegged you for someone who would read that.
yeah.
It's like, I never would have thought you liked those books, but I do. I like that you do.
I was super excited the other day. Stefan was our editor, and he had left in April and took a job with the county. And I'm in a text group with him, and he mentioned he was reading Agatha Christie. He had never read them.
Oh, yeah.
And so he was reading Hercule Poirot in order.
Oh, okay.
And he really liked the dialogue between Hercule and his friend Hastings. And I was really excited for him because I love Agatha Christie, and I'm a big Hercule Poirot fan. And so I just thought it was, how fun would it be to discover those books?
Yeah, for the first time.
Yeah, because I reread them.
There are a lot of books like that I'm looking forward to with Alex to rereading. Like, this last weekend while we were gone, he watched the Princess Bride movie for the first time.
Oh, okay.
So that's our current new obsession. We've moved on from
Scarecrow.
Shrek to the Princess Bride, which I'm loving it. And he was talking about it. He's like, the grandpa pretends to read a book to his grandson. And I said, well, you know, Alex, that's a real book. And he goes, we have to buy it. And I was like, yeah, we'll buy it. Fine with me. I'll introduce you to the Princess Bride. I don't care. But I love it. This is fantastic. But so I'm looking forward to reading that with him. And then I'm excited for when he's old enough for, like, Harry Potter. And I think there's some books that now that he wants to do, like, he's starting to want, like, a chapter a night. So, like, there's books that, like, Becca read when she was little, like Junie B. Jones and the Magic Tree House and all of those that I'm excited for him to discover for the first time. So
that is fun. It is so fun to turn people on.
But he's very excited. He's been running around the house in his Captain America mask with his golf club sword, swashbuckling away like the Dread Pirate Roberts.
Mario hat?
He is. Well, yes, the Mario hat is part of the Jafar costume.
Okay.
Because out of everybody we could like in Aladdin, we like Jafar.
Of course.
But it's okay. Most people tend to like the villain the best in most stories anyway. So.
Well, that's fun.
Yes. Enjoyable.
Well, I actually downloaded an Agatha Christie to read again.
Oh,
the
yeah?
Mirror Cracked from Side to Side, and it was
Okay.
$1.99. So I grabbed it because eventually I'll have them all. Occasionally they're cheap. But
Yeah.
I really encourage you, if you have not read Agatha Christie, to pick up one of her books, because her Miss Marple books are great, her Hercule Poirot books are great. She's got a zillion short stories.
Yeah.
Really astonishing, and there's movies, plays, good God, she's, just...
Well, and it sounds like Kenneth Branagh is going to start working his way through all of her stuff.
Yeah.
'Cause he's done 2 so far.
Well, I loved Murder on the Orient Express. I think it's really a great film. Then I got Death on the Nile. Disappointing.
I didn't think it was too bad. It just kind of moves a little slow, but...
Yeah, the book's really good.
Okay. I'll have
It's
to
got
read
a
the book
really
again.
nice twist, I think.
Yeah, I'll have to read the book again, but I didn't...
I do like him, though. I like him as...
Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah.
For me, I get Kenneth Branagh and Kevin Kline confused. I have to stop and stare at them for a couple minutes.
Really?
I do. Don't ask me why, but for some reason I just have to look at them for a second and then I can tell
I
them
don't think
apart.
Kevin Kline's done anything for a long time.
I know, but for some reason the 2 of them in my brain are intermixable.
I like Kevin Kline a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he does a lot of stage work
Probably.
versus movies.
Okay.
And because I think he lives in New York
Okay.
and stuff.
Nice.
But
Well, I started another series because you can't read a book without
without
starting
being a series,
I started the Inheritance Game trilogy, and the Inheritance Games is written by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, And the main character is Avery Graham, and Avery is just wanting to survive high school and then go to school on a scholarship and get a job as an actuarian because she will always have a job. And she's living in her car basically because her parents are her parents are dead, and so she's been staying with her half sister. And then one day when she's at school, she gets called to the office, and there's this guy in a suit that informs her that his lawyers have been trying to reach her because she has been named as somebody that is getting something from Tobias Hawthorne, who was like this multi-billionaire. And so she has to report to Texas where they are to find out what she's going to get. And so she gets there and discovers that he has left her everything and his wealthy family nothing. But there is
a caveat.
A caveat. She has to live in this house for a year with his family in order to receive her inheritance. So there are 4 brothers that are her age that are going to be living there with her, plus odds and ends other not polite front people.
Nobody's excited about this, are they?
Yep. And so of course she doesn't know how this guy knew her, and they don't know anything about her, so they think she's gold digging or something, trying to steal everything, all the while trying to solve puzzles and riddles because this guy loved puzzles and riddles and was building onto his house all the time like a crazy person. So that's the first one in this series, The Inheritance Game. I enjoyed it. Yep. The second one is The Hawthorne Legacy, and then the third one, which comes out this summer, is called The Final Gambit. So I really enjoyed it. I'm interested to see where it goes from here, but this would fall under like a young adult, probably genre type. So, but I enjoyed it. It was a quick read. I read it for 45 minutes while I waited for the airplane to get apart before we took off to go on our trip. So I finished it probably within 2 hours of our flight. So we had 45 minutes on the ground before we took off. So, but when you have no children and you're just sitting there, it's okay to sit and read for 45 minutes while you wait for a new light bulb for your plane panel.
They just don't carry those in stock, huh?
Well, they did, but it was on the other side of the airport. They had to pull it out of another plane that wasn't flying. So
that does not inspire confidence.
Well, it sounded like it was a plane that wasn't going anywhere, so they just took it from one and put it in the other. So
you'd think they'd have more light bulbs.
I guess, but at least it wasn't like we have to wait for it to be delivered from Florida. Please get off the plane.
Or no, get off the plane.
As fine as they were, like, as long as they didn't tell me, like, you have to get off the plane and get back on, I was like, I can sit here as long as I need to. I have water. I have my books.
I'm good.
I'm good. Yep, I'm all set to go. So, but yeah, so that one was really good. I enjoyed it. What else have you been reading?
There's an author. Her name's Karen Charlton, Charlton.
Okay.
And she has written a series with her protagonist is police officer named Lavender.
Okay.
And they take place in about 1830 in England.
Okay.
And there's like maybe 6 in the series.
Okay.
Well, she's started a new series. Okay. And this one's the York Ladies Detective Agency. And the first one is called Smoke and Cracked Mirrors. And I have not read it yet, but it just popped up when I was looking. And the protagonist is Gemma James, who sets up a private detective agency with her best friend, Roberta Bobby. And it's during the 20s, and they have to figure out who's who and what's what, and the World War II is coming.
Oh, yeah?
So it could be good. So I think I'll download it and read and see what the story is.
Well, in following the World War II theme, there's a new short story coming out by Kate Quinn, and she's written a lot of World War II books. She did the Rose Cold, the Alice Network, The Huntress, The Diamond Eye is her newest one.
Okay.
And so she had a short story that came out, and I read it. I got it through Kindle First Reads.
Okay.
So if you're signed up for Prime, you get access to pick one of 5 books, sometimes 2, but usually one of 5 books a month early.
Free,
yep, with your Prime membership. And so the one that she came out, it's an Amazon original story, and it's called Signal Moon. And so it's a real short story. It took me maybe 45 minutes to an hour to read. So super short, super quick, but it's Takes place in 1943. Follows Lily Baines, who is working at the is it the Y stations where they were listening to the radios and scribbling down the codes. So they're not at Bletchley, but it's before the codes went to Bletchley.
Okay.
So she's working on the coast, and she's in her little room, and she's turning through the dials, and she comes across this American's voice speaking in code, and he's talking about, they're out in the water, and they're looking for a ship that went missing, and it's this date. And then the ship comes under fire, and she hears it get hit by torpedoes and sinking. But that's not the weird part. The weird part is the date that the American gives, which is set in 2023.
Ooh.
So somehow she's gotten into she's hearing a
future
broadcast. And so it's how, and so then you go forward in time, and this American goes into a hotel, and there's a package waiting for him that's been waiting there. He goes into this hotel in 2023, and there's a package that's been waiting for him since 1943.
Wow, that's some hotel.
So it follows.
Is it good?
It is. It's really good. Real quick read, just a quick.
What's it called?
It's called Signal Moon by Kate Quinn. And so it's an 80-year time gap where the two of them are trying to work together to prevent his ship from sinking in the future.
By Kate Quinn.
Yes. So, like I said, quick read. Again, what I like with Kate Quinn's books is that all of her books tend to focus on a different aspect of World War II. Like with The Huntress, you have people that are looking for a World War II crime Nazi soldier who was the Huntress. She worked for the Nazis and caught Jews escaping the concentration camps, and so they're looking for her. Or like Bletchley Park will be about, the Rose Cold is about women who worked at Bletchley Park. And so I like that.
Oh, here it is. I just saw it for Prime.
Yeah.
I'll order it.
Yes, so lots of different, she always has a different angle of looking at it than like the angles you're used to seeing come across for like time period novels. It's not just like...
Oh, we get 2 free books this month.
Ooh, I got to go back online then later. Yeah.
Or maybe it's only because, have anything to do with your birthday?
It could. Happy birthday, by the way, a couple days late.
Yep. For those who may not know, we have a streak of birthdays. June 30th is Elizabeth and her mom, Lynn. July 2nd is me, and July 3rd is my mom. Mm-hmm. And Lynn was supposed to be July 1st, but the doctor was going fishing over the 4th, and so took her cesarean.
Yep, she had to come early.
A day early. And the way things are stacking up with our extended family, November is now going to be
Yep, November's taken over. Well, that'll be 3 babies in November, yep.
So...
Yeah. Another book I read that's just came out, Riley Sager's new book is called The House Across the Lake.
Oh, yeah. Is that good?
Yes, so I would say this book reminds me a lot of Rear Window.
Ah.
It's Rear Window, but with an unreliable narrator.
Oh.
So there's several twists, things you don't see coming. But basically the story follows, the main character is a, Casey Fletcher is her name, and she's recently widowed. She and her mom's like this famous actor. Her father was a producer. And so she and her husband were spending the summer up at this cabin in Vermont that her family owns, and he went out fishing one morning and somehow fell in the water and died. And following his death, she sort of spiraled into alcohol and had a very public breakdown in the tabloids, and so her mother has shipped her off to the same cabin where her husband died. Obviously, that's very therapeutic.
Yes.
To get her life together and stop drinking so much, which of course we're not doing. First
now
of all,
we're
because we're
alone in the place where our husband died.
And so because she's alone and doesn't leave her cabin, and has a very expensive pair of binoculars, she has become very interested in the house across the lake, which is owned by a model and her husband, who is like he owns a company that's like Facebook or Twitter and all those. So she begins to notice things don't seem to be too rosy and happy across the way, and then the wife goes missing.
Ah.
after she wakes up in the middle of the night hearing a scream. So very much, and it's even funny because even in the book she references feeling like Jimmy Stewart in Rear Window, sitting on her balcony watching the house across the way, which is kind of funny. But I did enjoy it a lot more than the last Riley Sager book.
Okay.
I have a friend that's still reading it, and she's like, I have like 5 different ideas about what I think is happening. And I was like, I want to ask you what the 5 are, but I don't want to ruin it. So I did, like I said, I really enjoyed it. It's one, I finished it in like 2 days. I think I read it, well, it's one I finished while we were out on vacation, but really enjoyed it. He sort of won me back again. And if you go to Barnes & Noble and you buy the Barnes & Noble copy, there's an extra chapter at the end that's written from another character's point of view.
Oh, interesting.
I really did. I enjoyed it. He's coming back up in my books because he had fallen off there after Survive the Night. But I knew a lot of people who really like Survive the Night. And for those who aren't familiar, Survive the Night is a girl wants to go back home after her roommate is murdered at university. And so she picks up like a ride share off a bulletin board of somebody who's going the same direction, and starts to think that maybe the guy who's giving her the ride isn't all he says he is. So it's one of those. So, but he's very prolific, Riley Sager. He's getting books coming out left and right, it feels like.
Well, another author I recommend is Elizabeth Daly. And again, she's a writer from the past, probably popular in the 40s, 50s. Okay. She was known as Agatha Christie's favorite American writer. And her...
That's high praise.
Yeah. Her protagonist is a guy named Henry Gamage.
Okay.
Gamage.
Gamage.
And he is antiquarian who values manuscripts and maps and all that good stuff. And he also solves crimes, of course. And the most recent one I read has an Ouija board on the cover. So I can't remember the name of it, but it's good. It takes place at a country house over a weekend. And no, actually, it's an interesting story because the woman who owns the house, of course, is rich, and she's writing a book, and at night someone adds these nasty quotes in the manuscript. And they don't know if it's like just someone being malicious or if it's like someone who's going to like kill her.
Yeah.
Because there's a aunt, which is Florence, and the nephew, and they share a $10 million estate, the income from a $10 million estate. Yeah. And so if he dies first, she gets the $10 million. If she dies first, he gets the $10 million. And the assumption is she'll die first because she's much older than he is. But that isn't how it works out. And it's a question of, and she's forever changing her will. And so, you know, whoever murdered her may have been under false pretenses thinking they were getting more than or less. So it's good. I recommend it. So Elizabeth Daly, and they're often on Kindle for $1.99, or they'll be.
Sure.
So that's when I pick them up.
Okay. I read another book that I sat and just read was a book. It's by Elizabeth Canas, I believe is how you pronounce it, or Canas. It's Canas, and it's called The Hacienda.
Okay.
So this book follows Beatrice, whose father. And so this book is set in the aftermath of the Mexican War of Independence, and so Beatrice's father is executed for being a traitor, and she's forced to go. She and her mother are forced to go live with her aunt and uncle, who are just awful people. And so, following the true fashion of how most of these books start, she decides to marry the first guy to escape to get a house of her own. And she meets, his name is Rodolfo, and he had a wife that passed away recently under mysterious circumstances, or typhus. And so she is going to take over and be his wife. And so they go out to his very expensive home. And of course, when they get here, she notices that, one, the sister won't sleep in the house, and the cook has like strange incense and symbols in the kitchen, and nobody will go in the house after night except for her. And after her husband leaves, she begins to discover that the house is haunted, and trying to figure out what is all happening with the help of the local priest, Father Andres. And this book very much, if I had to describe it, I would say this book is Shirley Jackson's The Haunting meets Rebecca.
Oh, God.
In a good way. Like, I could not put this book down. I had to finish it. I like literally sat there and finished it, and I even took it in the car with me to finish it on the way to the wedding because I had to know what happened, the wedding we went to. So
Wow.
I really enjoyed it. I didn't bring it back with me. I left it because I was telling the bride about it, and she was like, when I'm done planning this wedding, I'd like to read it. So please leave it for me. And I was like, okay. So I
can
put
do
it
that.
in the box with all the presents.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, but I enjoyed it. Again, couple different twists and turnies that I didn't recognize or didn't see were coming. But I did really like it. So, yeah. So the Hacienda, and that's another one I'd seen on Instagram
And people are talking
about it. Yeah. Quick, easy read. I mean, I think it was maybe 150, 200 pages, so not super
really
long
quick.
at all. Yeah.
Well, for us, it would be quick.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
That's like an hour to read. Zoom.
I know. Yeah. It was one of those things too, where Tom would be like, "We'll get to a point where you can stop your book, and then we'll go." And I was like, "The stopping point of this book is the end of the book. So we're either just I'm gonna have to put the book down, or we're gonna have to go." Like there was one night we're trying to finish the last season of Stranger Things, and so he came in the room and was like, "Okay, I've got Stranger Things all queued up," and I was like, "But I have like 15 pages left in this book," and he's like, "But Stranger Things," and I was like, "But 15 pages in this book," and he was like, "Yeah, can't you just stop?" "No, I can't stop. Gotta know what happens. I will see you in 15 pages. You can wait."
Yes. Did he?
Very begrudgingly, but yes, because I think he realized if he made me put my book down, it wasn't going to end well either. So
No, that would be, you never separate a woman in her
no,
book.
I always there's some shirts that say, if you can read this, I was forced to put my book down to come here, or I had to put my book down to come here.
Yep.
Or different ones like that I really like too.
I'm tired. I need a nap,
Yes.
I guess.
Been staying up too late reading?
Yeah, literally, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was reading that Seabreeze one
Yes.
with all the people and all the stuff, and so. But I'm just trying to see if there's anything else that I've been reading that.
There's a few books that are coming out that I'm looking forward to.
Ooh, which ones?
Coming out in September, we have the newest Maggie Hope book, which is called Mother, Daughter, Traitor, Spy.
Oh, the mother
And
sees
evil.
evil.
And it's got Maggie Hope is going to, she's going to Britain with Coco Chanel.
Oh, really?
Yes, I believe. And I think this one will be set right after, this is right around Pearl Harbor, because at the end in the last book, they were talking, there was a guy that was trying to warn them about Pearl Harbor happening.
Okay.
So I believe this should tie into about that time period. So Maggie's growing and changing and becoming Superwoman as quick as she can there, which I love Maggie Hope. She's one of my favorites. And then also, same day, the next Thursday Murder Club mystery book comes out in September.
By Richard Osman.
The Bullet That Missed
Yeah, that one looks good.
is the next one. So we'll get to
September
spend time
6th?
with September 20th.
20th, okay.
So, and this one, it's Elizabeth. It's all of their friends: Elizabeth, Baghdad, Abraham, all of our friends. And this, it's going to be. It looks like there's 2 murders that happened about 10 years apart, and Elizabeth gets a new nemesis.
Uh-oh.
So I think it'll be good. I really enjoy that little group.
Yes, I do too.
I kind of wish they lived like closer by, even though.
Yes.
Yeah, but there's always. I think that's the fun thing about books is when you find those characters
Yes,
that
that you
create the little
really
worlds
like.
you want to jump into. And
There's a book that I'm really looking forward to. It's called Chrysalis, and it's a thriller by Lincoln Child, and it's part of the Jeremy Logan series.
Okay.
And this is the 6th book in the series. And what Jeremy Logan is he's a guy who solves occult or psychic mysteries.
Okay.
And they're interesting. You know, they're sort of borderline psychic and reality things. But Jeremy's wife died, and so he's a professor at Harvard, and he sort of does these solving things on the side. And this one, which comes out next week on July 12th, is Like millions of people around the world, Jeremy Logan, or he's the investigator of unexplained things, has grown to rely on his incredible new tech device. It's made by Chrysalis.
Okay.
And
So is Chrysalis like a computer?
it's
I'm
like
guessing?
a company.
Okay. I was like, is it like an AI thing? Are we going to turn into Terminator here?
Yeah, because what happens is people start dying, and Chrysalis's technology is very wrong, could be potentially devastating.
Okay.
And so what they got, Jeremy's called in to figure out what's going on. So I don't know if some evil person or if the AI has advanced so long, or if it's a combo. But I really like Jeremy Logan, and so.
And on that note, we've reached the end of our time together this week. So we're going to say goodbye. And again, reach out to us on Facebook or our email, offtheshelfbooktalk@gmail.com. And we'll see you next time. Bye.